welcome to Cannon Crue, a weekly podcast discussing the Charleston Battery. Your host Granite will be joined by other defenders of the fleet from the black and yellow supporters section, and together they will help fortify and conquer. They are the Cannon Crue.
Welcome to the Cannon Crue podcast. I am Granite, and as always, I'm joined by Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing fantastic, Granite.
We got a little guest today. CG, you might have seen him between the sticks a couple times for the Battery. Wanted to talk to you just about your growing up. And
Absolutely.
First off, football or soccer? What do you refer to it as?
I'm American at heart. Soccer.
Okay.
It's always been soccer for me.
So, growing up, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So,
it's an interesting soccer scene up there, I'd say. You compare it to the Virginias of the country or the hotbeds down in Florida now, California. It's not close to what they got going on there, but it's pretty steady. You know, growing up, I started playing for the local club, the local town team, and then going on to middle school. There's not many opportunities where I'm from on Cape Cod. So you kind of have to leave Cape Cod to find those opportunities, and that's kind of what you start doing at middle school age to play at a higher level. And so, eventually just started making my way around the state, playing for the ODP, Olympic Development Program, and stuff like that throughout my middle school and high school journey.
So did you play club ball when you were younger?
Yeah. So played club soccer up in Massachusetts for a club called NEFC. Pretty big club up there. Do well in the national scene, but never academy now.
Oh, got
club.
you. Okay. And so then from there, from high school, because you went to a school up there called Brooks, is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I went to a really small private school up in North Andover, Massachusetts, called Brooks School. Historic soccer program. Some really big names like Charlie Davies have come out of there. I don't know if you know him, former national team guy. But it was a really great experience. Loved it there for 4 years. Met some of my best friends, and did fairly well. Had some looks going into the college world, but not many. But yeah, it was a great experience.
So, were you always a keeper, or did you?
Yeah. So, growing up, I played a little bit of center back. My dad was one of my first coaches, actually.
Yeah.
So he put me at center back, and I was a bigger child. I was a little on the chubbier side, because I hated running. And so around the 11, 12-year-old age, I was like, goalies don't run that much. You could stand back there and, it'd be enjoyable, but you don't have to run as much. So that's kind of what the transition was. On top of that, I have 3 older brothers. They all play different sports, baseball, lacrosse, football. And so growing up, I just had good hand-eye coordination, and kind of one thing led to another, and it stuck. So that's kind of my short journey there, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Similar journey for you, Ryan?
Pretty much. Person gets injured in the game, and the coach comes over and says he wants to go in goal, and your teammates are hyping you up, thinking you should be the guy, and you think it's a great idea, so you volunteer yourself. And then the rest, stuck in between the sticks from then on out.
Nice. So did your older brothers, because I'm the older brother in my family, and I used to beat my little brother mercilessly until he became my size and was a wrestler at state level, and then the odds kind of changed. So did your brothers help shape you as a keeper?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my 2 oldest brothers are a little bit older, so the age gap was a little more. So they kind of beat me a little bit more than I beat them. And then my 3rd oldest brother, who's only 3 years older than me, I caught up to him by the age of 10 or 12. I was kicking his butt more than he was kicking mine, and that was when the rivalries really started. But yeah, they definitely helped shape me.
Just seasoning you for shots coming in at 1 billion miles an hour.
Exactly. You grow up pretty quick when you got some older brothers. You get adjusted to it pretty fast. The speed of play, the physicality, all of that.
And them taking no shit from you either. Right?
Exactly.
No whining on your part, right?
Exactly. You can't go cry to mom when they're
Exactly. So after high school, you went on to undergrad.
Yeah, so, like I said, played for a club called NEFC during my time at Brooks, and, did well there. The club won a national championship while I was there, a few state championships, so we were solid. Ended up having 6 or 7 guys go Division I to really, really good schools, And so it was a great experience, but I didn't get the looks I thought I deserved. I had no offers coming out of high school, so was really looking at the Division III route, and had some walk-on opportunities, and that's what I took at Boston College. A chance to prove myself. The head coach there told me, you're you're walking on, you'll be the 4th or 5th string goalkeeper your freshman year, and you can come here and work hard, but you're probably not going to see any field time. And I said, fine. I bet on myself, and it was a great experience. Obviously, it's a great education on top of everything, so it was a win-win in that situation.
Fantastic. So, going into that situation, advising you, because we have a couple high school kids that listen. Who was advising you that I'm not getting many looks? Where should I go? What should I do next? Was your parent a professional player, or were your parents guiding you, or were you other coaches?
So I guess there's two sides of it. There's the academic side of things. You want to further yourself with a higher education, get the best education possible, and then on the soccer sporting side of it, you want to play at the highest level possible and really push yourself. So on the academic front, I have school advisors and stuff like that, but more so than anything, my parents were really big proponents of, finding the best school possible, and that's kind of what led me to Boston College more than anything. It was just the education side of it. And then on the sporting side of it, soccer I really had no guidance. Like I said, growing up on Cape Cod, it's pretty rural. My town has a population of 6,000 people, really small, no clubs within an hour and a half, so we're driving 2 hours for club practices a few days a week. So didn't really have many opportunities as a kid in the club soccer world. And so it was really just me finding my own path and kind of just, I'd say, doing it as I go, not looking too far to the future. Never had aspirations to play professionally growing up, just wasn't even in my realm of possibilities or even talked about. So it was kind of just, every momentous step you have in your career, you kind of look at the next one and look at the next one, and that's kind of just a trickle effect of what happened in my career, I think.
Was there anybody growing up in high school at that level that inspired you? You went, oh, this person's really pushed me to get to the next level?
Yeah.
Look back at.
Not necessarily anybody who I looked up to in an age sense, like older than me or had done the things I wanted to do, but I think my teammates at my high school, one of them plays professional now. We have a professional squash player, professional football player also went to my school, and my teammates and friends really pushed me to be better. One of my best friends ended up going to Columbia, obviously an Ivy League school, and seeing him do that really pushed me to want to further myself in education and the soccer side of things. And seeing my friends take a leap of faith and go to really good Division I schools, I'm thinking to myself, I'm better than these guys, if not just as good. I can play at that level. I shouldn't drop my level just because my coach told me, we see you as a Division III player. Like, I should dream big and have aspirations to make it to the highest level I can.
That's perfect. One thing I wanted to just get a remark at Ryan, he kept saying it was a small town and there's not many opportunities. Then he listed off like 5 people in professional at different sports.
No, not from my town, from my high school, which was a boarding school.
Oh, gotcha, from Brooks.
So not from my town, so it's very separate from where I grew up. It's about 2.5 hours. So it's kind of like a hotbed for athletes or people looking to get a better education than what you have offered to you publicly where you are.
So you went on to Boston College.
Yep.
Right. And the thing I want to ask you about now is about academics, because that's a big part of your life. Huge,
massive.
I think you have a poli-sci degree?
Yeah, so I majored in political science, minored in finance. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Still don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm only 25 years old, but went to BC, great education, like I said, and I was just like, I'm going to figure it out when I go. And so didn't know if I was going to do business school or not, so I ended up not doing the business school. Entered as an econ major, took microeconomics, and didn't do well. So let's just say after freshman year, I dropped that, and I was like, I need to reevaluate. And political science was a big interest of mine, and finance as well.
Gotcha. So Ryan, talk keeper stuff with him.
Okay, so.
I'm like the dad here. Talk.
I know. Right. So Christian, going into having your mindset of when not getting any looks going into college and stuff like that, coming out of high school, what is something that you stayed true and helped you out mentally to keep you wanting to go and wanting to drive? This is something I want to do and continue.
Yeah, so I could go all the way back to my early club days at NEFC. I was the backup when I was 12 years old, and I remember exactly who the kid was. I can still see his face to this day, and I'm sitting on the bench watching him play, and 12 years old, I'm like, I have this feeling of like, I should be playing, I'm better than him. So that was in middle school at a club level, and then, you know, I attend a private high school. They recruit a kid from Bermuda national team to come in, and they're bringing him to play over me as a goalkeeper. It's only one guy on the field. So, you know, I was a freshman on JV, and then going into my sophomore year, I hear about, you know, this 6'4" goalkeeper from Bermuda's coming in the national team. And I'm like, all right, you know, like, kind of just got to keep doing my thing and make my name for myself. And so, you know, preseason comes around, and that's the only thing I could think about all summer long was like, this kid's coming in to take my place. I need to beat him out. And so I just think from an early age, I've had this underdog mentality of always trying to be replaced. And it's a game of attrition. It's soccer. It's who can last the longest and who has the most intensity and, you know, to go the long way. And so I think from an early age, I just learned that you need to bet on yourself. And on top of that, I think being undersized, 6-foot goalkeeper, you know, probably smallest goalie in the league every year I've played my whole life. And so that's kind of just played into that as well.
I mean, that's amazing. And so when you had the opportunities to go to Boston College, fighting for, you know, coming from 4th, 5th on the roster, going up, how did you feel the moment the coach told you were starting in your first game?
Yeah, so as the game, the way the game works, it's never perfect. It's never like the shining moment of like, you're the guy now. So freshman year, started as 4th string goalkeeper, eventually made my way up to backup and got 1 game in by the end of the year, and that was huge. Although I lost my year eligibility, that's huge, playing a game. So I had some confidence going into sophomore year. I was like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna earn that spot, right? It's like we talked about, it's a game of attrition. They're gonna bring somebody in to replace you. I show up preseason on day 1, I'm the 5th string goalkeeper. I went back 3 spots, and I'm like, how the hell does this happen? Like, I was just the backup last year. I did well. Coach say he likes me, but he brings in, you know, a 5th-year guy, a grad transfer from, you know, Germany, and like all these things that he's played professional before, and I'm just Christian Gardner from Cape Cod. Like, I haven't done anything in my soccer career yet. Like, how can I prove myself? And as the game works, injuries happen. I think a big piece of sports in general is just your attitude and how you face oncoming challenges and face the game of adversity. And I think that played into my favor. You know, there's a couple injuries, a couple bad attitudes coach wasn't happy with, and I was given a chance sophomore year and kind of just didn't look back at that after that. You know, started a bunch of games, team made the NCAA tournament. It was really, really positive year, and it was a great experience. So it was just a snowball effect after that momentum.
So tell us about the snowball effect. What was the end result?
Yeah, well, the end result's I'm here. So that's really the end result of the snowball effect. But yeah, sophomore year, played almost half the games, if not a little more. And you know, I was 19, 20 years old. That's a big step in the ACC, is a really competitive league. Junior year rolls around. I'm like, I'm the guy. This is my chance. COVID hits. So end of sophomore year, COVID hits. Junior year, I pretty much, you miss out completely. You're training with a team, no games.
Small group sided too, right?
Right, yes.
You were limited to 4 to 7 players, because that's where I went my senior year. You had 4 to 7 players because coaches were petrified of having any more than that in a group. One guy drops with COVID, everybody's in quarantine.
Yeah, so definitely hindered my development that year. But on top of that, it gave me another year eligibility. So senior year comes around, you know, again, this is my time. You know, I got voted captain by my team, and that was a really monumental moment in my career to this day, like still my biggest achievement and honor. Senior year, did well the first half of the year, and then I got benched halfway through the year. You know, my senior year, my shiny moment didn't happen. You know, senior night I didn't get to play. I remember it vividly. Being a captain, it was really, really tough pill to swallow, but I think it really helped me develop as a person, more so than a player, just to deal with adversity and go back to that, like, hey, you've been enjoying it a little too much lately. You got to get back to this like underdog mentality. Like, nobody's going to give you anything. Like, if you're not playing well, they're going to bench you, which, you know, is what happened.
Yeah.
And so, and the senior year comes around, and I'm like, I just got benched. The kid's a sophomore. I can see the writing on the wall. And I'm like, I need a new opportunity. It's been 4 years, 4 great years. And so that's what led me to Northwestern, and using that 5th year of eligibility there.
And you're doing all that while balancing a pretty rigorous academic calendar. So how do you balance all that? Because it's not like you're just practicing once or twice a week.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're practicing every day. You're in the gym almost every day, traveling crazy for ACC games. You're on a plane every weekend going to Raleigh, Winston-Salem, wherever it is.
Was it commercial?
Yeah, you're flying commercial. It's, it's not glamorous. It's college sports, but it's really enjoyable, obviously, with your best friends. But back to the academic piece, I mean, it's a really, really challenging school, but I think college especially is all about how much you want to apply yourself. If you don't want to apply yourself and you don't want to receive good grades in return, you can do that. You can pass with D's and C's. Your academic advisor might yell at you, but you're going to pass. And so, I think just the on-the-field mentality really carries over to the off-the-field. So off-the-field, I'm thinking I have to work just as hard, if not harder, than all these other kids around me because they have unlimited time on their hands. I don't have weekends, things like that to catch up. So kind of just applying the mentality to both sides of it.
Did you feel, this is just kind of going in like, as the summer narrowed down going back to school this year, did you feel this sense of energy of a wall coming down saying it's go time now the moment you stepped on the campus? What was that like? Yeah,
well, my summers were a lot different than most. Growing up on Cape Cod, you're at the beach a lot of the day, you're enjoying your time, but I worked a lot of odd jobs when I was growing up. I lobstered for a few summers with my godfather, painted for a couple summers, a bunch of random things that I think helped me develop as a person a lot. And so I enjoyed my summers. I think most kids go away and play USL 2, or back in my day, it was PDL. But they go away for summers and they play soccer nonstop, and it's just a never-ending revolving door of soccer 12 months a year. And so I think I use the summers as a good refresher to kind of get back to my roots and continue to develop as a person, not just a soccer player. And so I think really when I got back to campus, it was like like you said, like a mental reset of now it's time to play soccer. I've had my fun, I've been refreshed, and I'm ready to go. So I think that's differentiated me from guys who just play soccer 12 months out of the year.
And you think that kind of helps you from feeling that burnt out feeling, right? Because you have most kids right now who go through that at, as early as 14 or 16 is a big age in high school where a lot of them decide between sports or they're just tired of one sport. And they get through this age. And I tell my boys constantly to go out, take a week off, take a couple weeks off if you need to
100%.
Get your mind completely off of things and reset.
Yeah, so funny enough, I played 3 sports in high school.
That was my next question. What else did you play?
Yeah, so growing up, played a lot of basketball, a little bit of baseball. My biggest sport was lacrosse growing up in the Northeast. It's huge. And I was probably much better at it than I was soccer. My dad started the local lacrosse program at the high school, so it's kind of just been in my roots. He played in college back in the day. And I've loved it. It's been my passion since I was a kid. I have this writing on my wall at home on a poster, and it's from kindergarten. It's what do you want to be when you're older? And I just said a lacrosse player. And so it's ironic it didn't end up that way. But
not yet, at least.
Maybe not yet. Maybe in my future. But played 3 different sports, and I think helped attribute to my success as an athlete. You diversify yourself. Injury prevention's huge. And on top of it, you just forget about the game for a little bit and kind of get a different perspective. And I still take things from basketball or lacrosse, things like that I implement in my game. As goalkeeper, catching crosses is a lot similar to getting a rebound off the boards. So there's different things that translate that I think have been really helpful.
That's fantastic. So after Boston, after college, and you go over to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you made a stop somewhere else, right?
Well, I did Northwestern, for my graduate year.
Sorry, Northwestern. And then after Northwestern, you go over to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Getting your first debut start for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
How was that night?
Yeah, it was amazing. We played Miami at the home opener. My parents made the trip, so it was really, really special. It's still my background on my phone. It's just a monumental day for me and my family. I think it's kind of a culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice by me and my parents more than anything. So it was really special. We got a tie. We didn't get a win, didn't get a shutout. So it wasn't, again, as glamorous. It's never going to be that shining moment you think it is.
Yeah.
Coaches still scream at you in the locker room after the game. So, but it was really, really special. I think getting that, it was early in, I think it was probably March 10th to 15th, around there. So like really, really early in the season, first week of the season. So kind of took some pressure off, not like this build up to like, when am I going to play? Am I going to get my moment? Like that weight off my shoulders, I think really helped.
So following that season with Pittsburgh, you had some ups and downs.
Yeah.
What would you say was your lowest, when you felt the lowest during the season?
At Pittsburgh?
At Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's a good question. To be fair, I don't like there weren't many lows. I mean, we won the Players' Shield that year in 2023. A couple of my teammates, Langston Blackstock and Nate Dos Santos, are here at Charleston with me. So clearly the team and the guys have done well so far for themselves. The coach, Bob Lilly, is a really, really intense coach, good coach, winning coach. So I think the bonding with the players helped a lot. A lot of good relationships formed with a lot of young guys early on was really, really important. But, I just think being a backup that year was, eye-opening. You see a lot of the professional game, and it's a big adjustment from college. And I really just think that owning your role, and the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick always says, just do your job, and owning what your role and job is on the team is really important. Whether you're Cal Jennings and you're scoring every goal, or you're a guy on the roster that's not making the 18 every week. They're two just as important positions. One gets a lot more spotlight and accolades and things like that, but they're just as important. And so I think, on top of the on the field, being a good teammate off the field and doing all the little things is helpful to the team success as well.
So let's back up to the transition from college to professional.
Yeah.
So big high, you get offers to play for Boston College, you get offered to play for Northwestern. How's that compared to professional contract?
Yeah. The moment that you get that professional contract, it's just like, that's the greatest joy in the world. I remember FaceTiming my parents. I was in the airport at Pittsburgh. We're all crying. It's just a magnificent moment for everyone. But then reality hits you quick. You go into preseason. You're a 22, 23-year-old rookie. There's guys that have been playing the league. Canardo Forbes in the league for over 10 years. Yeah. So there's guys with a lot more experience and a lot more skill level. And it's kind of like life. You move on from one thing, you succeed at it, and then you start at the bottom of the totem pole in the next one. So you're the guy in college, you're the captain, you're the fifth-year senior, you go to the pro game, you're the rookie, you're pumping the balls, you're picking up the cones, moving the goals. So it's kind of like a little mental reset there. But it's a tough transition for sure.
So is it more business-like, or is it still the same camaraderie?
Yeah.
Young men play in fun sport, or is it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I could say it was just as fun. College is a lot different. College, those are your guys 24/7. You're going to class with them. You're seeing them. At practice, you're getting dinner with them every night, every day. The pro game's different. Guys are fighting for contracts. Guys are fighting for their families. It's a lot bigger than themselves. It's a job, and it's intense. But guys are a lot more, I think, thoughtful and intentful about what they're putting into it. Rather than college, a lot of guys get away with just being a good player, and that's good enough. The nutritional side of it, the sleep and recovery is a huge side of the professional game that you kind of don't see in college as much.
So how do you manage that? Do you have a personal trainer? Do you just educate yourself? I'm sure the Battery or whichever team you're playing for provides a lot of resources. But
So the Battery, obviously, massive resources. We have a strength conditioning coach, Eric, who's huge. And we have a great staff all the way up from head coach Ben Pierman all the way down to our equipment manager Chris. It's really great staff and a lot of resources, but I think on top of that, you need to take matters in your own hands. So the guys always make fun of me because I'm a big fan of it, but the Whoop, the fitness tracker, is really big for knowing how well recovered you are, how much sleep you're getting, how certain nutritional diets affect your recovery and stuff like that. Especially in the heat down here in Charleston, you got to be extra locked in, I think, with all that thing, with all those.
Yeah, because those are data points that you could use to measure, recovering, correct. So, because you brought that up, what do you think is the biggest difference between playing at Pittsburgh, playing up Boston College, weather-wise, and being down here?
Yeah.
Because last year you were up in Greenville.
Yeah, Greenville's similar weather here. Similar, but you're up in the mountains a little bit, a little less humid. But it was my first summer down south, so it's a wake-up call. I'm used to the Northeast winters, which are cold, but I enjoy them. Pittsburgh, obviously very cold. And so you come down here and you get a little taste of it in May, like now. And it's kind of fall summer, and you think it can't get hotter than 95 like it is today. and then you wait a month or two, and
or 2
you know,
days.
when I was here in late July, and I'm like, all right, well, this is unbearable.
Pretty intense, yeah.
Can't go out after 10 a.m. So it's an adjustment for sure, but I think it's great seeing different parts of the country.
So we do get snow down here every once in a while.
Yeah, every few years.
Every few years.
A dusting, yeah.
And it will shut down everything around here.
I
So
know.
just expect
I know.
it. Just,
I love it.
So, Ryan, what else you got?
I think the last thing I have, Christian, is your last match for the Battery in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah.
Tormenta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Against Tormenta. The last time you had played for the Battery, you were on loan.
Yeah.
You kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Following that up in your debut for the Battery now.
Yeah.
What was your mentality, thoughts, everything going into that one?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, last year being on loan here was an amazing experience. Won 5-0 against Indy. Couldn't have asked for a better performance from the guys in front of me. I didn't have to do too much, thankfully. So kind of like, you know, it's one of those things where you have those first game jitters, but it wasn't really like a first game for me. It was like I've been here before. The fans are behind me. I know this feeling. A lot of similar faces on the team and the coaching staff. So kind of a level of trust I had in those around me, similar to last year, but last year was definitely an adjustment, coming in for a week, getting to know guys quickly. But this year, the transition was easy. I felt like I fit right in. Felt like I'd been here before because I had. And kind of just doing my thing after that, you know, really just enjoying the moment.
So we saw you got signed on permanent loan, and we were just talking. We're like, hey, and we saw you out in the pitch. We're like, it's just like you never left. So because you had a phenomenal game when you come. You know, I think Kuz was hurt.
Yeah. Gridless had a red card.
Yeah, and so there was a whole things lined up, and then we didn't know what we were gonna do because poor what's the young keeper's name?
Enzo.
Stratford. Enzo come in.
Yeah.
And it was just the bloodletting. He was at a really bad spot. Really free kick, and it was just.
Yeah, I remember.
And so when you coming in, that was.
I mean, but that free kick agast Tampa.
No, I think I won goal of the year actually.
Yeah,
he was a good player. It was good. It was a great hit.
I know. The young kid was 16, 17 at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, come in here.
It's a big adjustment.
Boom, and all of a sudden, you know, it's
just goal of the year on him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how do you think your playing style has evolved? Your goalkeeping style since when you were 12? Of course, there's.
Of course. You know, I think going to college, I had a certain vision of myself and what I thought I was capable of, and then you get to play ACC soccer and you realize these guys are coming from professional setups, you know, all the way over in Europe, South America, everywhere. These guys have literally played professional games before, and I'd barely played a club soccer game. So it's a wake-up call, and I think the biggest thing is, you know, how you play out of the back, your capabilities with your feet was something I, looking back, probably neglected when I was younger as a club keeper. And that's something I really focused on my first couple years at Boston College, was developing that, and I think has translated to my game today.
Because you are a shot stopper. You're like a cat out there.
Yeah, so I think, it's part of it, you know, being undersized, you kind of have to build up certain parts of your game, you know. Catching crosses, I'm only 6 feet tall. It's not my best attributes. I work really hard on it, but it's not my best part of the game. Probably won't ever be the best part of my game. And so kind of building up the rest of the game around that to support yourself as a versatile person and keeper, I think is really important.
And ball distribution coming out. So does it help with Nate being on your left?
Yeah, of course. When Langston's on the right, it's just like old times.
Yeah.
They're super supportive teammates. They talk a lot. It makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, because we've been experiencing some injuries. I say we
I know, of course.
Injuries, and,
right.
you know, Nate just. I met him the first Battery Fan Fest.
Yep.
He come up and I started talking to him immediately. And,
what a guy.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's fantastic.
Yeah, he's the man.
And so he's been killing it ever since.
Yeah.
So, what do you do now to work on your ball distribution? To work on footwork? Because we're both Arsenal fans.
Yep.
And so, you know, we lived last couple of years with Raya coming in, and part of the reason why they brought him in is because he's good with his feet.
Right.
He's also a phenomenal shot,
of course,
as we saw this past weekend. But so do you do anything extra to deal with that? To compensate? I want to say compensate, to improve that.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, going back to your point about Arsenal, I actually was a huge Rambo fan. I loved Aaron Ramsdale.
There we go.
I think for Raya's first year, I was like, Ramsdale's a better keeper. Ramsdale's a better keeper. I think Raya's proved himself, and he's gained a fan in me at least. And, you know, obviously Ramsdale's playing for Southampton, and Raya's playing for Arsenal. So clearly Arteta's right, and I'm not. But I think just constantly working on it. Our goalie coach Brian Jones is, you know, a genius when it comes to the goalkeeping side of things. He works really hard at his craft. And it translates to the goalkeepers. You know, we work on everything every day, so it's really, really important to just be consistent with that. Yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Going back to Greenville.
Yeah.
Big difference between USL too and here?
Yeah, I mean massive. Obviously, Pittsburgh being championship, going down. Didn't get as many minutes at Pittsburgh as I wanted to, so went down to League One to get more minutes and experience, because that's obviously what's the biggest thing for goalkeepers. And it was a great experience. You know, met a lot of great people. The level is definitely not what championship is. It's probably more physical, I think. Technically, it's probably less so. So it turns into a lot of transition games. So it's a lot different. You learn a lot more about the game, different sides of it you probably don't see in championship. And so it was a great experience, got a lot of great minutes, and then obviously got me to be back in Charleston, which was the end goal, is to bump back up to championship.
That's wonderful. I think that was...
That's all you got? Okay, let me start my long list of questions. Okay, did we cover that one? PKs, because that's what I remember you, because the phenomenal stuff. So what do you do? Game time, you're out there, they award PK. What goes through your mind?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. Probably my college goalkeeper coach, Vasily Uspensky, who's still a role model in my life, and I talk to pretty constantly about the goalkeeping craft. One thing he taught me early on was you want to give the striker as much time as possible to look at how big the goal is. So, you know, I take my time, I'm over there fixing my shin guards, drinking some water, waiting for the ref to tell me he's about to give me a yellow card before I step up and get on my spot. But letting the striker think for long periods of time. There's some number, some statistic he gave me, the longer the striker takes, the longer the striker has to look at the goal, the more likely he is to miss. And so I think that's played a big role in it. You know, not just getting up there right away and letting them smash one at you, is to kind of let them sit on it and think, like, do I want to go here? Actually, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe I'll go here. And then they're getting away from their focus of like where they want to hit the ball and really where they want to place it. So it's kind of the little things like that I think make a big difference.
Do you do any pre-match, studying of who's most likely going to be there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have great film. Jonesy, our goalie coach, is great film work. So it's he does the hard work. I do the easy work, is saving them. So yeah, we pretty much know where everybody in the past has gone, and then you make an educated guess on maybe statistically or where you think they might want to go, that due to the mind games that go into it.
So what's that feeling like?
Saving the pen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best feeling in the world.
I know as fans, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, in the moment, you're so hyped up. But, I saved the pen against Tormenta, and then it goes out for the corner, and you're like, let's go. Now I got to defend another corner. It's kind of like you just got to reset.
Yeah, once again, you get the spotlight that you won and deserved.
Exactly. So had a PK save last year at Greenville, and I held on to that one, thankfully. So that's a little more fun than giving up a corner. But you just got to mentally reset and then get right back into the flow.
But if I remember right, that was the kind of turning point, because I think we were up 1-0 at that point.
Yeah.
Stopped PK. And then we just
we scored like 30 seconds after the penalty save. So I'm not gonna say I played a role in that goal, but if anybody wants to tell me I got an assist, I'll take it.
Okay. Daily routine.
Yeah.
What do you do? Just on training days, not game days.
So wake up. I mean, we train pretty early. We're training around 9:30. So because of the heat. So you wake up around 6:45, 7. Eat a good breakfast. I'm big on nutrition and getting the proper fuel before. Some guys don't like to eat as much before training. I need a full breakfast. Go get prepared at training. Do your thing. Massages, roll out, whatever you need. Show up at film. Get ready for film, and then we go to train. And after training, kind of, the day's yours. You can do whatever you want. I typically decide to nap because I'm pretty tired after practice. So nap after practice, and then hang out with buddies. Whatever you want to do in your free time. Call your friends, your girlfriend. Go on a nice walk to the beach. Charleston's a great place for it all. So
let's go there. Sullivan's or Folly?
Sullivan's for sure.
So
we're in Mount Pleasant, so it's such an easy commute.
What else do you like to do around Charleston?
The food scene's my go-to, especially when my girlfriend's down visiting. About all we do is go out to eat, I feel. So I love the food scene down here. We're big foodies.
Good, yeah. Up and down. King Street. So King Street or Shem Creek? That's
a great question. Really hard. I mean, Saltwater Cowboys is just amazing views. But I kind of like the happening of the city here. You know, it's not a big city, but you have a city feel to it, and it's super walkable. So I think I'd go King Street.
And I've got some more questions like that a little later.
Yeah,
We'll down that
love it. I love it.
So on the game days, what's your routine?
That's a great question as well. So really just lay low all day. Wake up, immediately go to the gym, roll out, stretch, some light activation, go for a walk, come back, make a really good breakfast, eat a lot early on, and then nap for at least an hour on game days.
Do you spend much time on your phone during on game days?
I think inevitably I do, just so much free time. I try not to. You know, I'm not a huge social media guy. I'm not ripping TikTok for 5 hours a day like a lot of my teammates are. You know who you are. But yeah, I try to stay off my phone.
We'll find that out later.
Yeah. So I try to lay low for most of the day. Like watch a mindless TV show or a good movie, something like that, just to keep it steady.
Do you have any superstitions or rituals?
It's a great question. They always ask that. I don't think so, and I think I'm happy with that. I don't like to feel like I have to do a routine, because you go on away trips, you don't have that routine, and I think if I was like that, I'd maybe be a little bit OCD, thinking, you know, I have to do these things, and if I don't, I'm not going to perform. So I think I kind of just go with the flow in that sense.
So nothing like baseball, you don't step on the line?
No.
What is something that fans might not understand about being a goalkeeper?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Because we're up there drinking beers.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you guys. Trust me. I just think the loneliness of the position. You know, obviously you can attest to this, being a goalkeeper and coaching goalkeepers. It's very lonely. If you make a mistake, nobody's there to help you get through it except yourself. I think that's what makes goalkeepers such a different breed. Is even in trainings, we're separate a lot of the time. We're, you know, in a group of 3 or 4 doing our own thing with goalkeepers, separate from the whole team environment. And so I think that's kind of what leads to like a really great, they call it GKU, goalkeeper union, and like camaraderie between the group, because you kind of all face similar trials and tribulations, separate than what a field player would.
Do you think that goalkeepers have a certain genetic disposition that makes you crazy that you don't mind doing that?
Yeah, I think you have to. Your goal is to get hit by the ball. If you're trying to not get hit by the ball, that is not your position. And so you have to want to get hit by the ball, which is counterintuitive. It's not what your body or mind is telling you to do. So it's kind of something you have to be different about.
Do you think you're smarter? The goalkeepers think they're smarter than the field players? You don't have to answer that, unless you want to.
I just say I think we're more diligent. I think we have to be. You know, I see the entire field. I see what 10 other guys can't see, and so I think I'm the eyes, ears, and voice of those guys. And I think I have to be more meticulous about the way I go about things and the way I view the game and the way I, you know, present them the game with my voice and my commands. Whereas a lot of guys, you know, not saying if you're up top you can just sit there and score goals, but a lot of guys can just sit there and score goals, and they're great at their job.
That's easy stuff,
of course,
right? Yeah.
Of course, it's different.
They just run for like 5 yards, and that's it.
We'll wait for Arturo to get fouled.
Or Arturo to get fouled.
Yeah, or Nate this last weekend with drawing the pen.
Okay, so let's get into some. I think that's all the big questions.
I'm an open book, so whatever.
All the mindless
whatever
ones.
you want to know.
Daily routine, superstition. What would you do if you had to give advice? You might have already answered this, but if you had to give advice to a young 12-year-old you or a player, what would it be?
Yeah, you know, I think the common ones is like dream big. And don't be afraid to dream even bigger than you think. But on top of that, I think it's important to have a goal long term, like maybe what you want to do. But for me growing up, I never had that. I never thought I'd be playing professional soccer. Just wasn't in the cards for me realistically, and I think I just took it day by day, and that's how I was successful. I think it's easy to compare yourself to others, so I think it's important to run your own race, not think about what other people are doing, because I played for a lot of good teams growing up, and there were a lot of good goalies in front of me who never even made it to the college level. And so people develop at different ages, and you know, I think I was a late bloomer, probably like 20, 21 years old when I really caught my stride, and you know, other people fizzled out by the age of 18. So I think it's important just to stay on your path and stay steady on the course.
So you know you're not starting.
Yeah.
You still have to prepare just in case something happens. So you going through the same preparation, no matter if you're starting or sitting?
No, I think it's different for me personally. You know, some guys might say like they do everything the same. I'm not that way. I like to know in advance if I am playing or not because it kind of depends my daily routine. If I'm not playing, definitely spend a little bit more time outside, going for a longer walk or something like that. And then, you know, before the game, it's a little more happy vibes for me than if I am playing. If I'm playing, I'm very, very locked in, very focused. If I'm not, you know, trying to be a good teammate, trying to keep the energy high and positive. So I think it's a different story if I'm not playing.
Okay, so finish this sentence. What's the first thing I do after a match?
It's a good question. I'd say go home and rest because I'm not wanting to be on my feet after a game.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite meal after games? Like when because the team feeds you guys most times. What's your favorite one that they've provided so far?
I wish I could give you a name. Something Mediterranean. It's honestly amazing. That's my go-to. But we have really good catered food. They do a really great job with that. But it's something Mediterranean. It's something Greek. I'm pretty sure. I just don't know the name of it.
Okay.
I'll find out.
We'll get back to the phone.
I will.
When you're down there, we're going to yell out, what is that Mediterranean dish? If I wasn't a goalkeeper, I'd be, you kind of said you didn't know earlier, but.
Yeah, I don't know. We talk about that a lot. My buddy's like, if I didn't play soccer, like what would I do? And my buddy compared me to Wes Welker, like a slot receiver in the NFL. Because I don't think I'm just not cut out for the running in soccer. You know, I see what my outside backs do, and I'm like, I could not run. I know MD ran like 10 miles one game. I'm like, that's just absurd to me. So I would not be playing soccer if it wasn't for goalkeeper, I don't think.
Turf or grass?
Good grass. Yeah, a good grass field. So that's been a big change here. It's my first year playing on grass.
So how do you make I'm sure there's adjustments you have to make. So we're grass, turf down here, and later the season goes on, the more the heat's baking it and everything, and then you go to other, you know, like I think down in, you go to a turf field.
Yeah, we're going to Detroit this weekend. Great example, turf field. You know, an older, flatter turf field. Yeah, so we'll get on turf during the week just to get a feel for it. It's definitely an adjustment, but it's nothing like crazy. I mean, it's still like grass type service. So it's not like you're reinventing the wheel. It's kind of just getting a feel for like maybe the ball bounces just a little bit more or skips a little bit less, something like that.
Yeah, it's mainly the main common difference that keepers love about grass over turf is that grass allows for Mother Nature and allows for the environment to play effect into the pitch. Yeah. And sometimes that works in our favor and sometimes it works not in our favor.
Yeah.
That depends on if there's actually grass inside the 6-yard box.
Right, yeah. So that's the biggest thing. Turf, you know what the bounces and rolls are going to be. It's consistent with grass. If you're on a not nice grass field, you might get an ungenerous bounce. But our field and training fields have been amazing here, so it's nicer diving on grass than it is turf, for sure.
I bet it is, clean sheet or penalty save?
Or both.
I'd say clean sheet for my bonus and all my buddies' bonuses.
Okay, there we go, yep.
They'll make me bring in donuts, but they'll enjoy it.
Game prep, you listen to music or silence?
Yeah, kind of been on a music wave lately. I used to kind of just go silence, enjoy the locker room, talk to guys, get my mind off the game a little bit. But lately, I've been doing some more music.
Who's in your playlist?
I feel you're gonna ask that. I listen to anything. Techno, country, rap. I've been listening to a bunch of Morgan Wallen lately on the new album. So really just depends what I'm in the mood for that day. But probably a little old school Drake, and then probably a little EDM as well for pregame.
Ryan, what did you used to listen to? You didn't. You were a silent guy. You were probably talking the whole way down there, weren't you?
I was. I was pretty,
Would you rather play in the freezing cold or the South Carolina sun?
That's a great question. I think I'd go freezing cold. I have a great picture in my room back home in Massachusetts of playing goalkeeper when I was like 13, and there's a massive snow pile behind me, like 12 feet tall. And I don't know, like, I never loved it when I was a kid, but now being down here in the heat, I'm like, I could go for some cold weather soccer right about now.
About some of your fellow players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most likely to be late for the team bus.
Good question. There's a few guys.
There's a few.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Juan David probably.
Because he's styling. He's got.
Yeah, he's busy doing his hair.
Well, anyways, okay. Who's the loudest on the team?
Probably Joey. Yeah.
Love that.
I'd say Joey.
I love that.
Considering I room with him as well. I think he would say that as well.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get a chance to ask him. We'll see what he thinks.
Who was your guess? Did you have one?
I would say Joey, because he just seems like on the pitch or when
he's an extrovert.
In transitions, you see him when he talks to the players. He has that personality.
He's a yapper. Yeah.
So I watched the practice. Got invited down there to watch practice, and I don't know what the drill was, but there was players behind the goal and trying to catch it. They're taking shots, trying to catch it. And Joey
that's one
did
of our
this
finishing drills.
great one-handed.
That's great. You
catch.
saw that. We've only done it a few times this year, but that's a great drill we do.
There were shots about I'd be a great outfielder or something like that. So I can go with that one. Who's the team prankster?
I'd say Aaron Malloy.
Really?
Yeah, he's always busting chops. You wouldn't expect that out of him. I came in last year. He's very, on game days especially, he's about his business. And somebody else who's like that is Chris Allen. You would never think. He's very stoic. I told him he's a modern-day Marcus Aurelius today. But he's very just kind of just a straight-up guy. But once you kind of get him joking a little bit, he's a good prankster. So him and Aaron, two guys you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that either. Most likely to forget something in the hotel room.
That's a good question. I'd say guys are pretty good on our team about that stuff. I'm gonna go with Langston.
Is he gonna like that answer?
No, he's not gonna like that answer.
You went with somebody you knew, right?
Exactly.
Who's the person on the team that thinks they're the funniest, but they're really not?
I think Joey or Vigo Ortiz.
Okay.
It was Zeke Soto before he went on loan.
Nope. Oh yeah, so let's talk about promotion relegation.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it?
I know. Obviously, 2027 they announced Division I sanctioning. Hopefully it happens. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket that is going to happen, but I think it'd just be great for the country as a whole and obviously the USL organization. It'd be great to have something that can rival MLS on top of introduce promotion relegation as country. It's just, as a fan, it's what you want. You're fighting for something more than just a player's shield at the end of the year.
Yeah. Do you? I had one other question. I just slipped my mind. You got anything else, Ryan?
I do not. Well, speaking of promotion relegation, you have the World Cup that summer.
Right.
You have the 25-26 or the 26 season for USL.
Yeah.
Are you going to try and make any games? Or are you trying to see if you can get
that's the hard part. You don't know where you're going to be in that city that year. I'll definitely try to make it out to some. I know Foxborough up at Gillette Stadium outside Boston has some games. So wherever I'll be, I'll definitely try to get to some games because obviously they're everywhere in the country. So all the major cities. So definitely try to make some.
And we do have the Club World Cup starting here next month or 2 weeks.
I think it's 2. Well, Jorginho, he's leaving Arsenal, I saw today, to go play with Flamengo, maybe? And they're going to the Club World Cup, because I think they're supposed to report in June or something.
I think they're playing in a couple teams. I know Fluminense is playing in Charlotte, I believe. So there's some games around here. That'd be pretty cool. I think they're playing Borussia Dortmund, so it'd be a good one.
Yeah, we took a road trip up to watch Colombia play Uruguay last summer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So fun. So, we had too much of a good time, I think. But anyways, I have nothing else. What else should we know about you?
No, I think that's it. I'm an open book. I think being the baby of the 3 older brothers kind of has, progressed me to develop early and develop quickly because I think you don't have a choice in a household with 4 boys, kind of roughhousing all day long. So I think it's been a good development. And just a hard worker in general. I think that's what's led to my on-field success as well as off the field is just being able to work hard at both ends.
Has your family been able to come down here to Charleston?
Yeah, they've come to a few games. They came to our preseason game against Clemson, and then a couple games this year. They're our home opener against Louisville, and then our game against Tormenta as well. So they love it down here.
Yeah, I hope they enjoy it down here. Most people do. So
no, they do. It's awesome. Yeah,
the town's
it's a great spot to be.
The town's filled with people that are not from here.
All transplants. Everybody who's from here isn't really from here.
Exactly, right?
So, coming in here this year, what would you recommend a dish to a new tourist? Like one dish they must try coming here to Charleston.
I'd say not restaurant specific, but hush puppies in general. Come from the north, it's not something you see up there. On top of that, I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously the seafood's amazing here, but I'm from the Northeast, and I'm very impartial to my northern oysters. So I'd say the hush puppies are the biggest thing for me.
Okay, let's talk oysters. So if you partake in many down here, and why do you think the northern oysters are better?
First of all, I think just in general, the smaller oysters, the small to medium size, have kind of more of a buttery flavor to them. Down here, it's more of a salty, harsh, And so, I've had like Bull's Bay and all those, but I'm impartial to Cape Cod is some of the best oysters in the world, but obviously like up in PEI, Prince Edward Island, up in Canada, New Brunswick, all those are amazing.
All different. There's a place that my wife found for us like 2 years ago, and it's called Rappahannock Oyster House that has oysters from the Rappahannock, where I live back home in Virginia. But then they also bring in oysters from Canada, New Brunswick, and Massachusetts. And
that's awesome.
So that's a great place
I'm gonna
to
check
go
it
if
out.
you want to get your oysters and stuff like that. It's a great one.
Yeah, like we said earlier, the restaurant scene down here is just insane. It's amazing. So love exploring that and trying new places. So it's awesome.
And there's a bunch of them to try.
It's endless. It's endless opportunities. I feel like I've probably been to a couple dozen at this point, and I still have endless to go. Yeah, so it's fun.
There's an oyster house on every corner.
I know, exactly. Yeah, Delaney and Darling are two of my favorites as well.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking with us, because this is
awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great spot. Obviously, you guys got to come check it out. More on King
Craig, come
Street.
here for a second. So we're wrapping this up. Craig happens to own this place or something like that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so it's a good place to have a pint.
Great spot on King Street.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Watch a little football. We're trying to cover everybody. A little Liverpool heavy, but
in all fairness, he does have an Arsenal scarf
right
up
there.
here. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so,
I appreciate that.
Scarf's going right next to it.
Yeah.
we'll keep all of that part of Finland over here.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. Well, we're not going to look that way. That's the part we're going to play. But anyway. Okay, that's all. Thanks very much, Craig, for letting us
Good meeting you. Yeah, it's awesome.
And that's all I have. And we'll catch you next time.